We don't need roads.
Did I leave the stove on?
I didn't choose the Slop. The Slop chose me.
Well, Shazam, and welcome back to your ultimate film-obsessed podcast experience, a show that will finally prove that movies are the future. I'm your host, Harry Sweeby, joined for the 5th time by Declan
Wilson.
Dragon.
Some.
We started doing the last name thing a few episodes ago. I don't know why. It's
Then we-
like,
then we
it's like, what's your
stopped.
name again? And these guys are from Movies of the Future on Instagram, which is now celebrating their 50,000 followers. Big round of applause. What an achievement.
Yeah.
We were just looking at it. It's going up by like 10K each year, and it's so impressive. Obviously you can check out how their whole story got started on our Slop podcast with Movies of the Future, available on Spotify.com at the link below. Yeah, like it's just so impressive how far it's come and how you guys started it when you were 13 or something. And
August 2013.
August 2013,
11th
and
of August.
yeah, you're almost coming up on, what is that, 7-8 years now?
Yeah.
Something like that?
6 years, yeah.
6 years?
Oof.
Yeah, 9 years, 12 years. Wow. But it's just so impressive, and I'm glad that our little podcast gets to be a part of that in a little bit. So thank you.
Definitely.
It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, again, make sure to go and subscribe and get them to follow, I guess. Also subscribe to our channel, but follow them and get them to, I don't know, 69,000 followers, and then they'll delete the account. Make sure to check out our Avengers Endgame spoiler special that released last week, which includes exactly what is in the title. So go check that out. It's a lot of fun. And if you count specials, this is our 7th episode, which is kind of crazy. So go back and check out the old episodes. I guess they're kind of like roundups of the month previous, but you could just go jump in and listen to Heath talk about film criticism, or listen to us talk about Southpaw, or there's a whole bunch of segments that you can go back and check out. So please do that. That'd be fun. No guest this week,
Just
the team.
3 amigos.
just the OGs. But we will have some guests on next week or next month, because I shall be in Europe and I won't be here. So I'm very excited to watch what happens. It's going to be fun. Of course, if you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, you can check it out on Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, all your favorite places. And if you're listening to the audio, then come watch the YouTube video on YouTube. We should upload the Vimeo or just do something random. Like store them on somewhere else in case like YouTube deletes itself one day.
Yeah, true.
Like that's kind of the terrifying thing about this. Like same with just being on Instagram. I guess you're on Twitter now as well. But previous to that, it's like if Instagram just like blew up,
Yeah. Then
the whole thing's gone.
it's a bit awkward.
Like YouTube. If YouTube goes, I guess, we've got the audio versions, but it's a whole lot of work which just disappears. It's a lot of trust. Speaking of trust, I now handed over the reins to Dragon for What's Out, folks. Segment
First
graphic.
segment. Oh, Declan, you're sitting this one out. You're not doing this?
Oh, that's
He's
right.
taken a
Graphic.
stand.
So the month of April, how else would you start it than the biggest movie, one of the biggest movies of all time, Avengers Endgame.
I thought you were going to say Missing Link.
No.
It wishes.
Yeah. So with Avengers Endgame, we did our spoiler talk. So if you want to get our thoughts on that in depth, you can head over there, because we won't be saying anything here.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Fuck you guys. Go give us views.
Yeah. So following on from that, another comic book movie, Shazam, also came out at the start of this month. The first DC movie of this year, the only one in the DCEU.
To be produced by Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think of it?
Well, it's obvious DC's going in a lighter direction. I think that's mostly for the best, because Aquaman made $1 billion, but Shazam hasn't. But it was still well received, and I I enjoyed it. I don't think I loved it as much as other people. I had a lot of problems with the third act or the big final fight.
Really?
I didn't like.
Really?
I knew what was going to happen.
Oh, wow.
A while ago.
Ah, there you go.
But it wasn't that. I just didn't like it. It was too cheesy.
So I had no idea that was going to happen.
Oh, okay.
No clue. So that blew my mind. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I didn't know it was going to happen. I just thought, because I don't know much about Shazam comics, but I knew about that aspect about Shazam. I'm like, I wonder if they do this. And then I was like, wow, they're actually going through with this. So yeah.
This thing, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I really like the movie, but yeah, I understand problems with the third act. It's like, it's something that they could have just built towards instead of just putting in their first movie. It was...
Yeah.
It felt like the whole movie had its thing going on, and then this was like, oh no, we gotta add this on top of it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed it because I felt like it wrapped up a lot of... It's tough to talk about without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Because...
And I kind of don't want to spoil it because I don't think
haven't
many
seen
people
it,
have seen it.
Yeah.
But go see it. But yeah, like for that thing, I think that they set it up enough, and they really do a pretty decent job of making you care about those characters. That,
Oh yeah, yeah.
That by the time it happens, you're like, oh yeah, it feels like it's kind of deserved, and I am more interested in the sequel because now that they've, like, whenever they put so much into the first movie that you're like, what are they going to do in the sequel? I kind of like that because then it means like, okay, now I don't know what to expect, sort of like Avengers Endgame. But you know what I mean? It's like with Aquaman. There's just so much in Aquaman 1 that it's like, what the hell are they going to do in 2? So with the Shazam, with that ending, it's like, okay, so they've done that. So there's not that to look forward to anymore. What are they going to do with that?
Yeah.
So I kind of like that.
Yeah. I also found it really funny. Like, I was laughing a lot throughout the movie. There were a couple of jokes, like, well, obviously I saw it a while ago, so I can't really remember what some of the jokes were. But yeah, I just remember laughing a lot during the first two acts because they were really funny to me. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's definitely like my second favorite movie of the year.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know, it's up there. And yeah, I just thought it was great. I thought it's just the sort of the first superhero movie that nails the not fan service, but the wish fulfillment aspect of like if you became a superhero, and that's sort of just everyone has that sort of dream, and luckily like Shazam's power sets are like so sort of diverse that it's like they have this great second act where he's got to discover his own powers and stuff. Yeah, which is just hilarious.
That was probably the best part of the film, is him discovering his powers.
Oh, yeah.
I wish a
really
lot of it wasn't
that.
spoiled.
And everything was in the trailers.
Yeah.
And the other good aspect I thought was I won't go into it, but Billy's foster sort of background. I thought that was the way they did that. That was probably the best emotional aspect.
It was kind of like it starts off and you're like, they're not going to do that. But then you kind of like, well, that's the only explanation, and then they do it. And you're like, well, that's interesting.
A bit dark, but it was good. Yeah,
I thought it was just a perfect mix of sort of superhero, sort of contemporary, like kind of having a laugh, like Deadpool in a way, but with just like classic '80s sort of horror movies. Like it's kind of reminded me a lot of Goonies and actually a lot of Jumanji. When I watched Shazam, I really was like, this is like when did Jumanji, the first one, come out? Like the 90s, early 90s?
93 maybe or something.
It reminded me so much of that, just with the villain designs, like the Seven Deadly Sins or whatever. Yeah. And just the way it was all like this, like they really pushed into the D&D wizard kind of like how weird it is. And it just reminded me a lot of like those sort of kids like fantasy movies. Yeah. Which I really, really liked. So
it's nice. Well, I'm going from a really family-friendly movie to a R18 movie for us, Hellboy. Who saw this movie?
Well, I had the displeasure of seeing it.
As did I. I'll throw it to you first.
Well, tell me about it.
Well,
tell me.
I actually thought the trailers looked kind of cool. I know a lot of people were by the trailers, but and you know, David Harbour. Who doesn't love David Harbour? And the director of some really good Game of Thrones episodes was doing it, so I was pretty keen.
That's true.
And it was a disaster.
How bad is it? Because everyone's saying it's bad. So it's
really
that
bad. I don't
bad.
hate it as much as him.
Wow.
But I guess we'll get to me later. I guess you can sort of...
it was boring. Like, it's so simple, but it's kind of confusing as well. Like, there's just so much exposition and dialogue, and if I didn't pay so much money for the ticket, I would have left.
Wow.
It's your
Wow.
worst. It's your worst of the. Is it your worst of the year?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh wow, there you go. I kind of want to watch it now. Like, you know what I mean? When the movie's that bad.
Well, I mean, if it debuted with a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, you're like, I gotta watch it.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of weird how it works like that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pay for it, but I'm definitely gonna watch it. Yeah.
Nah. Well, for me, the trailers, like, I wasn't as hyped as Declan was.
That was so loud.
Don't mind me.
I hope that got picked up on the mics.
Probably
I'm
did.
sure it would. And cut start again.
Yeah. I was never excited from the trailers. It looked like, it looked like it had potential to maybe be a sort of a cult hit, or maybe like a miss with the critics and a win for the audience, like a Venom, I guess, for
Oh
people.
yeah.
But like what Declan said, it was just so boring, and it was R18 with gore for the sake of gore. It had nothing. It wasn't really, when a movie like it's very stylish.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. It was like, I saw gore for the first 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, I'm tired of this. And the coolest scene in the movie, in my opinion, was at the end, which was this one take sort of action scene. And I was like,
okay.
I had to go through 2 hours of movie
Yeah.
for this.
Does it set up for like sequels and
Yes.
stuff? Yeah.
Oh,
It's
so
like another
hard.
one of
Yeah.
those. Of course.
Yeah, that's exactly what the last scene in the movie is. It's like, what's this? And then it's just cuts.
I want someone to do like take all the massive box office bombs that like was setting up for sequels, which is like a lot really. I feel like a lot of the movies that bomb these days have sequel bait. So I'd love someone to just go through, make a list, and then like try to like write the sequel. Like, like just like there's like an alternate universe of these movies. Like Venom. Venom should never have been a movie that got a sequel, but here we
No.
are. It's weird.
Oh god. Yeah, Hellboy, what a it's just a nothing time. Another movie that came out this month was Little, which I believe I was the only one that saw this movie.
Oh yeah.
It's a basic plot. It's just this woman who owns a company, and she's really mean and all that, and she gets turned into a kid to sort of find herself again.
It's one of those.
It's one of those movies. Like the
It's
movie.
it's reverse Shazam.
Pretty much, yeah. The movie was perfectly fine. It was pretty funny. Regina Hall was in it, and Issa Rae. They were really funny. The little girl who plays younger Regina Hall was a standout. I thought she was really funny, and she produced the movie too.
What?
Which was interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
How old is
The
she?
little girl.
Yeah, the little girl. Well, executively produced, but but yeah. So I was really,
I'm gonna have to look this up.
I was kind of impressed by the movie. It's gonna strike me as a forgettable movie. By the end of the year, if I'm making my list, I'll look at this movie and be like, oh yeah, that came out. But I mean, it was perfectly fine. I don't regret watching it. So
That's
I
good.
mean, there's really nothing else I can say. It follows basically everything
You got your $5 worth.
in this genre. Yeah.
There you go.
So that's all the cinema releases, and we have 2 Netflix releases, Unicorn Store and The Silence, that I didn't see, but Declan's on top of his Netflix game.
True.
So I'll hand it to him for these 2 movies.
Unicorn Store is a Brie Larson movie. It's also her directorial debut.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't know how to explain it.
Is Samuel L. Jackson in this one? Is
yeah.
that, yeah. Okay.
She's some weird sort of loser person that hasn't done anything with her life, sort of.
Right. Okay.
And she's always been obsessed with unicorns, and then Samuel L. Jackson offers
a
Unicorn?
a unicorn if she builds
Wait,
a
really?
stable
Wait, you're not kidding?
or whatever, and that's the plot. And it's just
Okay.
like, it was fun, kind of, and it showed that Brie Larson is a good actress. Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind
For
of
the
want to
most
watch
part,
it now because it sounds bizarre.
it really is weird.
Cool.
Yeah.
But it debuted at some festivals in like 2017, I think.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, I don't think it would have done well in cinemas, but yeah, it was interesting, but very forgettable and a bit weird.
I didn't think it was a literal unicorn store, but apparently, there you go. I like the posters though. It's low color.
Yeah.
I like color.
Those are nice, yeah.
And The Silence is like A Quiet Place and Bird Box kind of mix.
Oh, is this the one with Stanley
Stanley
Tucci?
Tucci.
I saw someone watching
I've seen
this.
the poster everywhere, like on the internet.
I like dinosaurs, but like Stanley Tucci plus dinosaurs. Just I need one
it was-
want something else to get me to watch.
It was such a small scale movie. Like nothing really happens. Nothing you've seen before. It's just
Okay.
sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, but here it was just really.
Yeah, who? I guess. Okay, I was gonna ask who's the audience for these Netflix movies. I guess it's you, but like, who is the like? I mean, obviously you're watching them because
I'm just watching for
Yeah.
the sake
'Cause-
of watching it.
yeah,
Because, yeah.
exactly. It
If
makes
I
sense
wasn't
for
into
us.
Because who
movies-
knows? They could be good, and you wouldn't know.
But who is the real? Like, I guess people just watch random crap on Netflix.
Yeah, I guess.
You know.
Yeah, it
Well,
was
not
just-
crap, but like just
Yeah.
they're not bad, but they're not exactly standouts.
Yeah.
They're sort of in the middle.
Yeah, there's no like creative effort put. They're so generic. Yeah.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, there's not much.
But there are some standouts,
There's not much else.
like
to say.
Death Note and Gerald's Game
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gerald's
I'm
And
with you for
Okja.
Gerald's Game.
and Okja. True.
Yeah,
And another one we'll get to soon.
we'll get to. Yeah.
So stick around to the end of the episode to find out.
Okay.
Yeah. So lastly, in our first segment,
Maybe.
this isn't a movie, but Game of Thrones' final season premiered this month, and the biggest episode that I've heard came out last week, this week.
Couple
It
days
was
ago.
Couple days
yeah,
ago?
It was, for us, it was Monday.
Yeah.
For the US, it was Sunday.
Well, as you can tell, I don't watch it, so I'll give it over to these guys to run down.
Game of Thrones is the one with the fantasy stuff, right?
The dragons.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, it's like the
Um,
League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. No, wait, it isn't at all.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Game of Thrones.
it was
just
good.
Quickly, yeah.
dude, I've heard a lot of people like not liking the episode.
I love it and hate it.
Yeah, I was disappointed, which is weird to say that there wasn't. This is kind of spoilers. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones episode 3 yet, and you're binging the series at the moment to like get through it, just don't listen to this. This is a spoiler alert. We're not going to do big spoilers.
Okay. No, I'm kidding. I don't really care.
Not huge spoilers, but like just sort of like general plot sort of points, I guess. But I was amazed that there wasn't as much death as I thought there was going to be.
Like too many people survived. Like
Yeah, this is
like-
weird to say.
like
but
the two main characters that were killed. One of them had to die, and the other one I sort of expected, but it was still tragic. But I wanted another tragedy as well.
yeah,
and-
I honestly thought at the end there. Well, I mean, hats off to the writers, I guess, for getting us to the point where I honestly thought that so many of them were gonna go. And there's like the darkest moment. It's actually a really well made episode. It's just that it doesn't. I think it's so well done, and
I
like from
think
the opening charge.
It is
where it just-
disgraceful how dark it is.
Okay.
There's no except at the start. I don't
Okay.
mind because you go for the horror sort of aspect of not seeing anything, but there's
That's
just
fair.
points where it's just
You can't see anything.
there's dragons fighting each other in the sky, and I'm like, who's who? I don't.
Yeah.
What? And then it's just,
yeah, that's fair.
and then it's just fog and smoke. I'm like, what?
It's because they don't have a huge budget, Declan. They gotta
Unaccept-
hide the budget.
But I was watching behind the scenes stuff, and it's like it looks bright, so they purposefully made it darker.
Yeah.
And
it's the long night. But
Like,
I thought a lot of it was staged really well, and like there was the amount of suspense they had, especially after they
Yeah.
do that charge, and then it's just like wiped, and I was just like, oh shit.
because at
it's
first
great.
it was like, oh my god, they're gonna lose. Then the Dothraki get their swords light up. It's
yes!
like, oh my god, they're gonna win. And then, oh my god, they're gonna lose. And then it's just constant
And
dread the whole episode.
Yeah, and the issue is that it sets it up that it's just totally unwinnable, and then it sort of the ending sort of changes some of that. But
Yeah.
I still really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah,
but I
like-
feel like I have to wait till the rest of the season to be able to have the full picture.
Yeah, despite how much I hated some parts of it, how dark it was a brilliantly made episode. Like the scale.
Yeah. Well, I want to watch it on
Just
like a cinema
enormous.
screen.
Yeah,
It would have made it
Yeah.
probably better, easier to watch.
I don't like seeing my reflection in the TV that much.
That's funny. I have no idea what the next 4 episodes are going to be. Well, I do, but like...
Well, the whole show's about taking the Iron Throne, so it
It
was never
is.
about the Night King.
yeah, but it just felt like it was for the last few episodes.
The
but now it
marketing,
isn't.
the marketing got you.
Yeah, they got me.
It's all about the throne.
Anyways, what have we got now?
I
Is
feel
it...
like Paul Rudd in Endgame just smiling along.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorite shots in that whole movie. Check out our Avengers spoiler special. The link below. Is it Is it 2009?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so now is our section while the camera slides over to me gracefully. Hello. Where we go back through the movies that were released 10 years ago last month, so 10 years ago in April. And we've been going back through for the last, to 2009. There's been a lot of crazy stuff that came out in 2009. So go check out the other episodes to find out. So, in April of 2009, we had Fast and Furious.
4.
Oh.
Fast and Furious 4.
Yeah,
Which,
I don't like that one.
is it as... Well, I mean, look, it's
You
not...
like it, don't you?
It's not one of the higher points of the franchise, but it's not as bad as people say. People say it's the worst. It's definitely not the worst.
I think I haven't seen these movies in a long time, actually. Like maybe 3 years ago. So at this point in time, it's my least favorite.
Wow. See, I controversially
What
would say that it is better than Fast and Furious 6.
No. Where is it on your rankings?
It's I think it's the third. I think it's third from the bottom.
Is 4 the one where they steal the safe in the end?
No,
that's 5. Which is the best one?
Number 4 is in Mexico. Yeah.
I actually thought 4 was, when you watch them all back to back, 4 actually is better than you think. But we'll break it down another day.
Okay, yeah.
It has a lot of character development that I actually think is really good.
Get keen for our Fast and Furious 4
Furious
episode.
special.
We will have to do it when 9 and 10 come out, and Hobbs and Shaw and stuff.
You guys think we're joking.
And I actually think 8's really good. But anyways,
Okay.
What else came out?
what else came out? Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, I saw this in the cinema.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Is it
I
terrible?
I was so keen for it as a kid. I used to watch Dragon Ball Z all the time. And then watching this, like as a kid, I was like, wow, I'm seeing a live action Dragon Ball. But then like I watched it maybe in 2011 again, and I was like, this is trash. It's just steaming garbage.
What's worse, Dragon Ball Evolution or The Last Airbender?
I haven't seen either, so.
Wow.
I
That's going to be on the MCU rewatch. Like Dragon Ball Evolution, The Last Airbender.
I feel like Evolution was worse.
Yeah, okay.
Last Airbender at least had some things that were in the cartoon, whereas Dragon Ball Evolution like changed up so many things. Goku's a white guy. He has a Japanese grandfather, and he's like the whitest guy you could ever see.
God.
Just terrible.
There you go. Well, that came out 10 years ago, so check it out if you want to remind yourself of the trash. 17 again.
I
With
saw
Zac
that.
Efron.
I saw that in the cinema too.
I can't remember if I did, but this is great. But I actually remember really liking that movie
really
back in the
liked it
day.
too,
Yeah.
I was on that High School Musical train. So
yeah. It was
yeah.
kind of an edgy PG movie though. I
Oh,
remember.
dude, yeah.
I remember there being specific things that I was like,
Yep.
oh,
Yeah, I think I know what
As
you're
a
talking about,
9-year-old?
It's sort of hard to comment because I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I don't.
we should watch. I'm going to go through a lot of these 2009
Content.
Get
movies.
keen
Write it
for our
down.
17 again reaction.
17 again commentary. I was recently reminded of it because I mentioned it a bit in Sleuth, which you can check out, which details
Yeah, you did.
how you have younger and older versions of characters and how that's typically thought of as one of the worst freaking
Because that was one of the
Zac
like,
Efron and Matthew Perry.
biggest negatives with the movie, the casting. So yeah.
But anyways, I might have to go see it. State of Play,
With
which
Ben
was
Affleck?
Ben
Russell
Affleck.
Crowe, yeah.
Yep.
Mm.
That's 10 years ago. And The Soloist, which was a Robert Downey Jr. Jamie Foxx movie that nobody remembers, but I remember because I'm a huge Downey Jr. fan.
Oh.
And it was about him as a soloist. But you should watch it. It's not a bad movie.
Okay.
And it's the one where it was the one out of his like comeback that wasn't like a huge success. Like
yeah.
it was in between sort of Iron Man and Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just sort of the one random. It's the last, unless you count like The Judge, like the last sort of like lower budget movie that he really did.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
And he's best friends with Jamie Foxx, if you didn't know. So that's maybe where that started. So there you go. What's our folks?
Nice.
Finished. Dusted. Speaking of dusting,
Check out our Avengers Endgame.
check out the Avengers Endgame special. And now we have our next segment, the Headline Stealers graphic. All right, this is our segment where we go through the biggest news from April, and we sort of just give our general thoughts. First up, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker teaser trailer has been released. What did you guys think?
as a Star Wars fan, I was like super excited watching it, but there's still that part of me that, because I didn't enjoy The Last Jedi, that I was like, oh no, deep down I know this probably won't be good. Oh. But my fingers are always crossed in hope.
Yeah, well, I come from the side of Star Wars fatigue. So watching when this came out, I was like, okay, this is cool, and I watched it. I'm like, wow, okay. It got me somewhat excited for the next one, but I enjoyed The Last Jedi, and I noticed a lot of this was just like repairing the damage Rian Johnson did. So I'm interested to see how it sort of plays out as a trilogy.
Yep.
Mm.
Well, I come from the side of it that loses my mind whenever something Star Wars related comes out. And Star Wars Celebration this year is probably the best Star Wars celebration that they've just ever had. Like, the amount of Star Wars news that they packed into a weekend made it just one of the most fun weekends I've ever had, of staying up till 4 a.m. to watch like the live panels. And it's always a moment for me, since 2015 when they did the first celebration and they live streamed the panel, and then you get the trailer at the end, and they've done it for Last Jedi, now this. And it's such a moment when it comes to April, and I stay up, and I'm with my brother, and we just watch it, and I get so excited. And I loved the trailer. I thought it was a great trailer. It took me by surprise what they're going to do with Palpatine. I have a lot of theories. I unfortunately think, hopefully I'm totally wrong like I was with Endgame, but I kind of think I've mapped out the actual plot of the movie at this point based on how deep I was into Force Awakens and how they're reusing a lot of ideas that Michael Arndt had from the original script with the Death Star, and I feel like if you look at all that, you can pretty much piece together like where they go.
Arc, sort of.
Not JJ's arc, but just in this movie, where it's going to start, where it's going to end, the planets they'll go to, and what the general plot of it will be. But I'm not obviously going to say anything because maybe I'm totally wrong. But I'm super excited. The one thing was the title.
I'm not sure.
I was kind of iffy on the title. Maybe it'll be better once we see it, but
I'm still not a fan of it. It's just an odd title.
I came up with a fake title right before it came out, which was The Only Hope, and I was like, yeah, that'd be the best. Like The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, The Only Hope, callback. But then it was The Rise of Skywalker, and I was like, makes sense because they're getting the return and the revenge and the whatever. But then it was like, no, but it doesn't really work, and there's no of there, and it just it just
and it was
sounds dumb.
blue.
It
I
just,
like blue.
the rise of like it. Yeah, I don't know. Like really I watched JJ say it gets people talking. I'm like, it does because it's so stupid.
Yeah,
I don't like.
I like having the title out though because now we can refer to them as just the movies.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Does it mean Kylo Ren rises?
Well, people reckon that Skywalker is the term for the new Jedi.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Like they just call them Skywalkers rather than Jedi.
Yeah.
Like they get rid of the Jedi. But I was like, yeah, well, we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll see. Lando though, fucking, you should definitely watch the Star Wars panel if you're a Star Wars fan or just a casual fan or just a Lando fan, because he owns that panel. Billy D. Williams comes out and he's like 83 or something, and he is just the coolest dude still.
That was that was the best bit of the trailer. Just hearing him laugh, I was like,
yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Oh, it's so awesome. I'm very excited. Sucks that you guys aren't as excited as I am.
Like I'm always excited, but I'm just.
It goes from most excited to least excited.
I guess I've got the most to lose though. Like if it's bad, I'm gonna be the most disappointed. So there you go. Next up, Avengers Endgame box office success. You've probably seen it everywhere. It made 1.2 billion worldwide in the first weekend, and it it made 365 million domestic in the US.
50
domestic.
Yeah.
350 something like that. Which for context means that it basically doubled the previous highest opening weekend, which was
globally.
Globally, which was Infinity War.
It was 640 mil.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Which is insane. And then it's 100 million in the US because everything's about the US in box office apparently. But it made 100 million more than Infinity War's domestic opening. It's now the 18th highest grossing movie of all time in 3 days.
Yeah.
It's got like the biggest debuts in like China. It broke all the Australia. It got the highest opening. It's got the highest like 1 day grosses.
Yeah.
$75,000 per theater on average.
Yeah.
Blew everything out of the water. Far more than anyone predicted. People were saying like 900 million, 1.1
Yeah.
billion.
But
Fucking
nah.
came out here. It's like, fuck you. So yeah, there you go.
Usually when like big movies like Avengers come out, everyone's like, will it beat Avatar? I'm like, no, it won't. Avatar made it. But for a movie to make over $1 billion in one weekend,
This has a genuine chance.
I couldn't help but be. I wasn't surprised. Like I was thinking $1 billion is where I was expecting. I didn't quite think it would be like 200 million over that, but yeah, I think this is the only thing that'll ever have a chance of beating Avatar.
agree.
Yeah.
Like I reckon it'll definitely beat Titanic, which is currently the second highest grossing movie at 2.1 billion.
I thought, oh yeah, no, you're right. Infinity War
Yeah.
didn't top that.
No.
Infinity War's number 4.
No, wait, number 4.
Star Wars
Oh,
is still
Force
above
Awakens
it.
would be 3.
Oh,
What's
wow.
Endgame now?
For some
Is
reason, I
it
thought it was the other way.
6? What's Endgame?
It's
At the
18.
moment? Oh,
18.
that's right.
Because we forget that there's been so many billion-dollar
Yeah.
movies in the last sort of 10 years. So.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But yeah, it'll definitely make like 2.345 surely.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I want it to beat Avatar, but yeah, we'll see.
I want to make like that grand declarative statement of it will beat Avatar, but then I don't know. I just don't feel like we're in unprecedented territory. We've never had something like this
Yeah.
to like base
Yeah.
it off. And so it's just sort of, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, anecdotally, like the theaters when we saw were packed.
Yeah.
You've seen it 3 times. I've seen it 3 times. You've seen it
Twice.
twice.
Dragon's
See
seen
it
it 4 times.
4
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
Oh, shit. There you go. Ash, behind the camera here, has read the plot online. So, there you go. I guess we're not getting any support from him box office wise, but yeah, it's just so impressive, and just hats off. And the amount of I don't know if any of the actors have back end deals other than Downey, because he usually has a box office percentage, but like the amount of money
Disgusting.
coming in is just nuts. Like they probably just like that's their year of
Yeah.
you know, like that's Dumbo taken care of, you know, like Artemis Fowl. It's like we can write it off
Yeah.
because we made this much money, you know. So there you go. Impressive stuff. Next up, Kevin Feige says the X-Men won't appear in the MCU for a long time. That's what I've always said. It'll be like a
Yeah.
Phase
Kinda happy
5
with this,
thing.
Yeah.
So much going on in Phase 4. We don't need
Oh,
it right
yeah.
now.
Well, he said he's like they've planned the next 5 years out and probably more than that. So the X-Men never really fit into their plans. They obviously will show up, but because 20th Century Fox has made them so, even though most of the movies haven't been that great, they've made them really well known to general audiences
yeah.
that if you need to properly reboot them into a massive franchise like this, you really do need to take like 5 years off from
Yep.
seeing them. So I'm really relieved.
Yeah. Someone dropped a theory about how a certain moment in Infinity War could actually, like, not that they were trying to set up future mutants,
Yeah.
but they could use that retroactively to sort of
Okay.
have it like a reason why the mutants are popping up now. So yeah, check that out. I'm not going to spoil it here, but yeah, I'm keen
Yeah.
for when it does happen. But like, we got so much more to get, so much more ground to cover.
I was reading an interesting article that was like Disney or Marvel Studios couldn't legally start planning to use the X-Men because
Yeah.
the deal hadn't gone through, and if they were, then it would show that in business aspects they're like colluding with Fox and that to because Universal wanted to buy Fox as well, and that and if they're already making plans, then that's
Interesting.
kind of illegal. Or there's a better way of explaining it, but it's from a business aspect. Like,
Yeah, that's interesting.
Kevin Feige would obviously be thinking about it, but he couldn't officially or be openly discussing it with his fellow producers. So
We'll see
yeah.
how it goes. I'm just excited for their Phase 4 like event where they
Yeah.
announce everything,
Oh,
and we
it's
get
gonna
like
be
the
good.
list of movies again.
and
It's
the
gonna be fun.
logos and
Yep. All right. Next up, Jeremy Renner returning for a Hawkeye series on Disney Plus. Is this 100% like it's basically confirmed, right? Like there's no leeway on this one.
It is, yeah.
Which sounds cool. It's again tough to talk about without spoiling Endgame if you haven't seen it, but yeah, I mean, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Not gonna pretend I won't.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Without spoiling Endgame. not
It's
much
kind
more
of
we
you
can-
can't really say anything.
Yeah.
Joker teaser trailer. Wow, I can't believe that was last month. Joaquin Phoenix. Great trailer.
Oh, amazing.
DC always seems to nail the trailers though.
They do. Except for Batman v Superman trailer number
3.
Yeah, that's
God.
fair. But yeah, what did you guys think?
Oh, I loved it. I watched it on repeat that day so many times. I was excited. Yeah, because I had uni that day with Heath, and that's all we talked about. So yeah, just so excited for the Joker movie. Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing much else for me to say except hype.
What do you reckon box office wise?
I don't know. It'll probably have one of those decent opening weekends and then start
It'll
to
slide off.
I don't know. Who knows?
It is a bit of a
odd.
It's the first sort of villain movie that actually I feel like has a chance because it's not Venom like where they're trying to make him a hero.
Yeah, or Suicide Squad where it's all like fun
Yeah.
still looking. This is actually
It's just a different perspective thing.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. It's kind of what do you compare it to? You know?
Yeah.
So there you go. Idris Elba's not playing Deadshot, which is a weird. Can you imagine being like? I think I read the story. Well, I'll read out the story anyways. But Idris Elba was not playing Deadshot in the Suicide Squad, which is officially a sequel. But I remember reading it and them saying that they just cast him in the movie as a character and then figured that would be Deadshot. But now they're like, nah, what? Maybe Will Smith will come back or something.
It'll be King Shark.
Yeah. So to me, that makes. I kind of like that because it's continuity wise.
No,
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
And like, it's just like, don't try to reboot that character. Just make a new character. And if it's similar to Deadshot, that's fine. But
Yeah, I think it's for the best to leave it open for Will Smith to come back, because I think he genuinely has scheduling conflicts. So what else can you do?
Exactly.
And it's Suicide Squad's like the perfect sort of franchise to roster in characters in and out. So I'm glad it's a sequel that Viola Davis is returning, Joel Kinnaman apparently returning, Jai Courtney.
Yeah, that's right.
all to die in the first act, hopefully.
Maybe, yeah.
Get their heads blown off.
To see James Gunn's new cast. So
Which was there was a story today, wasn't there, about someone just joined or something?
That Ant-Man actor, David Jastelmachian or something.
There you go.
There's his picture.
Here.
He's playing Polka Dot Man.
Classic character.
Get keen.
Keen for his DC Universe show, which will be debuting in 2027. Yeah, well, I'm excited. Shazam 2 officially in development, despite being a box office disappointment. Now you put disappointment here
With a question mark.
because I think that they have enough like sort of audience cachet where it's like they've established the character now. People seem to really enjoy it. It didn't make a huge amount of money, but then it was never really going to, I think. So
I feel like lots of people forget that not every movie makes $500 million.
yeah,
exactly.
especially
The first
superhero
movie
movies.
does okay and it'll grow. So
Hopefully. But I think that a sequel makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you have The Rock attached for
Black Adam.
Black
movie
Adam,
and- yeah.
which is... Are they going to do Black Adam and then Shazam 2 and then cross them over?
Yeah, Black
Yeah.
Adam's going to happen first.
Yeah, so we'll see. A Black Adam movie, box office wise, I guess, is really just dependent on Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
But if that
Yeah.
does better than Shazam, like that's an interesting world to live in, and then how they combine the two will be cool. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that happens. And that brings us to the end of the headline stealers. Moving on to
The big small news.
graphic.
I think the biggest of the small news this month was Bond 25 official cast and story announced.
Yes.
Returning stars are Daniel Craig, Leah Seydoux, Ralph Fiennes, Naomi Harris, Ben Whishaw, Rory Kinnear, and Jeffrey Wright.
My boy's back.
Move your ass, James.
New stars are Rami Malek, Lashana Lynch, Billy Magnuson, Anna Diarmas, and some other people, with True Detective director Cary Fukunaga helming.
What happened to is there a little bit in the middle? Isn't that like a joy or something in the middle? Or do people just cut that off now?
Cut out what?
Isn't there a thing?
Doesn't he have? A
Isn't it
hyphenated-
Carry like something Fukunaga?
Oh yeah, he does. His name's
You know,
longer than that. Yeah.
But then I haven't heard it a lot recently. I'm just gonna. This is a total. Yeah, it's Carry Joji Fukunaga. I want to keep the Joji. People trying to drop the Joji here.
Bond 25, directed by Cary Joji Fukunaga.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna keep the. I'm gonna be a stickler for this going forward. Anyways, let's get back to the real.
So the story from memory is Bond will be retired with Madeline Swan, which fits in with the end of Spectre. Which,
in Jamaica.
yeah,
Ooh,
which
exotic.
Spectre wasn't the best movie, but
Sad. Yeah.
but he's thrust back into action by Felix, played by Jeffrey Wright. Should be cool.
I hope Felix has a decent role because he was name dropped in Spectre, and I was like, we can't see him. But yeah, this cast.
It sounds like they're bringing a lot of the movie around Felix, and his return is like they're actually making a deal out of it rather than him just popping up. So it sounds like that'd be good.
Yeah, because Billy Magnuson's playing a new CIA agent, so
He's in everything now.
So I reckon he'll be like somehow connected to Rami Malek.
Yeah.
And Lashana Lynch is playing a CIA agent, I think, as well, or a new MI6 agent. So there'll be a lot of agency stuff. I
It's
think.
the battle of the jawlines. They've all got great jawlines.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the actual video reveal, like
I saw
at Goldeneye?
I saw the photos on Instagram.
Okay, because I watched it and it was this weirdly like, super well produced intro, and in the middle it just went to shit. Like the audio mics were wrong, and so they had like background noise coming in, and then the cameras were like handheld, and you could see the guy's shadow in half the shots, and like the start that they'd pre-recorded was really well done with this awesome drone shot, and then it just kind of went to shit. And then, but the good thing is that the host that they had did a great job. She was like actually like really, she was probably the most like attentive person the whole time.
Okay.
No one's ever gonna watch it, but
I'll check that one.
just filling you in. And yeah, Daniel Craig's he's definitely looking a bit older.
Yeah.
Well,
But
they've started filming, so
he could look worse.
What's the age gap between Daniel Craig and Leah Sado?
let's not look
20
that up.
years probably at least.
Anyway, moving on. Earlier in the month, Disney confirmed that they'd be making more Aliens and Apes movies, which is interesting. We already knew they were making like more Avatar and Kingsman.
What if all four of those franchises are in the same universe? They're just like, you know what, Fox? We'll give you your franchises. We'll just put them all in one.
Oh God.
We'll give it the Disney treatment.
So yeah, it's interesting they're making more Alien because the last one, Alien Covenant, the second Prometheus movie,
I didn't see.
didn't do that well. It wasn't received that well. I personally liked it, so I'd like to see Ridley Scott finish off his Prometheus trilogy.
It had a cool ending. That was about it.
But
But apes.
They need
What
to
the
just do
hell?
Neil Blomkamp's Alien. That's the only way you could
Yeah,
redeem the
true.
franchise.
And with Apes, yeah, well, Matt Reeves has been saying for a while that he's had ideas to continue the franchise, so
How much did the War make?
it didn't make as much as Dawn.
Yeah.
It didn't.
Dawn was like a weird success too. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't think that would have been a big movie,
I
but
think it made
was.
like 700 mils.
Yeah.
Whereas War
it was
just
like
made
400.
just made 500, I think.
Yeah,
maybe, so
just
still good,
$500
but
million
Yeah.
dollars. Appreciate it.
yeah. But continue with Disney Fox movies. They did confirm they'd be making more Deadpool movies, but they'll be made under the Fox banner, so that makes an MCU crossover unlikely.
But it'd be pretty. I think that putting Deadpool would be really weird. From
yeah,
like
as
a
much as
fourth
people want to
wall.
see it. Yeah.
But you can totally have Ryan Reynolds just like, you know, it's so easy to put him in where he just makes a couple jokes about it directly,
Yeah.
and then you move on.
Yeah,
That's the
like,
nice thing.
I reckon they will eventually. Just yeah.
Oh well.
But I'm glad they're still making proper Deadpool movies and that. I hope the X-Force movie directed by Drew Goddard still happens.
We need to start like a Drew check-in. Like, Drew Goddard, how you doing today, pal? How's it? Is it going all right? You okay? Little Drew watch. That's our new segment.
Definitely not happening.
What?
I heard that X-Force is definitely not happening.
Well, you can shut the fuck up with your negative attitude, okay? X-Force is going to happen, and Drew Goddard is going to have a successful franchise film.
Moving
Please.
on, Alicia Vikander is returning to star in a Tomb Raider sequel. So that's,
Really?
That's happening.
Did anyone watch the first one?
I did.
Dragon.
And I actually...
I liked it.
Of course,
Same.
Dragon on Deck.
I didn't like the ending.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't like it. I just hate how hard it set up a sequel.
Yeah,
It was so
yeah.
in your face, but I'm excited to see it back because I like the first Tomb Raider.
Is Nick Frost good in it?
He was funny.
Oh,
He was.
that's right,
It was
he's
very
in it.
brief. Like his
Okay.
role was very brief, but he was funny as always.
Where's
yeah.
Nick Frost? Bring back Nick Frost. All right.
Yeah, so... They took a while to make up their minds whether they want to do it or not, but so they haven't written a script or anything yet, so it probably won't come out till 2021 or something. So that'd be a solid.
I hope it's just
4
called
years,
Rise of the
yeah.
Tomb Raider. It's just a direct remake of the game, like the first movie was.
Yeah. Moving on again, Keanu Reeves is reportedly appearing in Hobbs and Shaw to be set up as the main villain for future sequels. Ooh.
So he's like, all right, let's go through the examples of characters like this. You've got Ed Norton in Alita. Is that a spoiler? That Edward Norton's
That
in
is,
Alita
but
Battle
it's
Angel?
okay.
Whatever. You've got
okay.
Ed Norton in Alita. I'm just gonna go through all the spoilers. So if you don't want to spoil any movie, tune off now. You got Ed Norton in Alita. You've got Woody Harrelson in Venom. You've got who else? There's so many that they've done this
like
with.
big name.
That they just dropped this cool name that's like set up for the sequel. You know,
Yeah.
they did it with Josh Brolin through the MCU. They did it with Jason Statham, the end of Fast and Furious 6.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
They've done it with like, it's just the thing to do now is like, we'll get you in for the sequel, you know. So I don't know. It must be interesting as an actor to get that offer and be like,
Yeah.
well, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Keanu Reeves though. Who doesn't want Keanu Reeves in this
doesn't?
universe?
For fighting Dwayne Johnson and Jason
Jason
Statham.
Statham.
So yeah, apparently he'll be connected to Idris Elba's villain
I'll
somehow.
probably be
so
like the big boss.
some secret organization that
Yeah.
he works for. Who knows?
Yeah. What is he gonna do after John Wick? I guess maybe. Actually, better
Retire.
question. What was his last big franchise film?
Matrix.
Yeah, like it's been ages
Yeah.
since he's done a big sort of franchise.
47 Ronin.
Oh god. We'll get to that one later.
But speaking of Hobbs and Shaw, we got a new trailer this month.
Almost 4 minutes long, but okay.
It's with-
I didn't watch it because I figured it would spoil basically
it
everything.
showed like the whole movie in that trailer.
But all Fast and Furious trailers do. Like, they show every action scene.
Well,
so
was the movie good? Is it on your top 10
Movie was-
list? How's the movie?
It was perfectly
Entertaining.
fine. Oh god.
Just write your review now. There's no need to wait.
Also got a trailer for Godzilla King of Monsters, the final trailer. This movie just looks better and better and better. It
Final
looks
Have they spoiled the whole movie yet?
kind of.
Is
but
final trailer? Is that number trailer 3?
yes.
Okay, because I didn't see that one then. The last trailer I saw was number 2.
The music was amazing. The scale of it is just
Oh,
oh my god.
So excited though.
And we got a new trailer for Men in Black International. I wasn't a fan of the first.
The first trailer was shit. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I hated that first trailer.
Same.
I didn't hate it. It was watchable.
It just wasn't
was
funny
fine.
though. Like there was
I
no.
hated- There was just
I
something
don't
that
know why. You know
about it.
the oh snap. I don't know why I was laughing.
I see. I can't even remember that because it was just
it was
shit.
just Chris Hemsworth looking at the camera. It's like, oh snap.
Ugh,
Nah.
so
Oh.
bad.
Wasn't there a bit with the hammer that he
Yeah, at
had?
the end he's just like,
It's just
the
dumb.
tables have turned.
I hated it.
But how's the new trailer? Is it good?
I kind of liked it.
Oh yeah, it was better.
It
than
looked a
the
bit
first one.
better, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, it felt more like Men in Black. So
When's that come out?
June.
Soon.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
June.
So
Yeah.
I'll obviously see it, but still, yeah, cautious.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I
And-
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Keep-
I'll see it.
Keeping on the Fast and Furious headlines, John Cena is starring in Fast and Furious 9. Vin Diesel revealed via Instagram.
setting up for him to be the villain in Fast and Furious 10.
Well, I suppose they've got big shoes to fill with The Rock not returning for Fast 9. So
Yeah, who is the villain in Fast 9? Do we know yet?
Charlize coming back for that, or
they haven't
Well, she's
announced.
alive, so I assume, but she'll end up on the family. She'll be a
Yeah.
good guy. We know how this goes. Like, there's no
you turn
surprise.
Dom against us? Nah, we got to sit for you at the table.
Ah, you killed our best friend. Nah, here's my baby. Anyways,
Yeah.
Is there a door in his way in this one?
There's a door in my way.
does he know what they did? You know?
Oh god.
And he's also, but he was also rumored to star in the Suicide Squad. So maybe due to scheduling
That's
conflicts.
King Shark. John Cena is King Shark.
So due to scheduling conflicts, maybe he'll be doing Fast 9 instead.
Are they doing 9, 10 back to back? Or is that not
Maybe.
in the plan anymore?
That makes sense. I can see why they do it.
Because they're released a year apart, so.
Yeah, and Justin Lin is directing both. So
And they're big movies, so it'd be tough to get one out.
and they're doing that with Mission Impossible 7 and
Oh, yeah. So
8,
excited.
So, yeah. Moving on to more positive news, Ben Affleck is returning to directing with a movie called Ghost Army from Universal Pictures.
I'm sorry, it's a terrible name for a movie. But anyways,
What's it about?
It's thank you for that segue.
let me tell you, it's a
it's-
ghost.
I'm not actually sure if it's a true story or not. I think it is, but it's about a US military squadron that uses like tricks and tactics to make the Germans think that there's sort of more of them than they are. So it's set during World War II. And yeah, I think it could be kind of cool.
I actually hadn't heard about this till now, so there you go.
Ben Affleck's also starring in it, apparently. So
I'm happy for Ben Affleck.
yeah.
I'm happy for him.
Good on you, Ben.
Live by Night didn't do well. He was meant to be Batman, and that never worked out. So hopefully he can get back
One
into
movie at a time.
One step at a time, Ben. One day at a time. Keep going.
Speaking of promising projects, Leonardo DiCaprio is starring in Guillermo del Toro's next movie, Nightmare Alley, which is about a corrupt con man teaming up with a female psychiatrist to trick people into giving them money, according to IMDb.
Okay.
It's good to see DiCaprio back in movies, seeing he won his Oscar for The Revenant
Yeah,
and
and
then
he just
disappeared
dropped.
for 4 years. I think he was doing a lot of climate change stuff.
Yeah.
Like the
was
new
charity
Lil Dicky
case.
music video, Earth, which you should all check out.
And he's back this year in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which will be amazing. Quentin Tarantino's new movie.
Took a paid cut for that as well. I was looking at today.
Did he?
There's this article about like the highest paid actors this year in all the movies, and apparently he and Brad Pitt they only got $10 million each to be in this movie because they wanted to work with Tarantino again. So yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Poor guy.
I know they had to forego their usual $20 million each for $10 million each. Sucks.
Actors.
But there's a good article. You should check it out. Margot Robbie got like I think $12 million for Birds of Prey.
Oh.
Tom Cruise took a pay cut to be in Top Gun Maverick. He's only getting $10 million.
All these
know.
poor actors.
Downey Jr.'s got the most money because of
He's probably making
Infinity War. Yeah. So there you go. It was quite interesting.
To finish off the big small news with something sad, Rush Hour 4 won't be happening.
Wait, but I thought there's the photo. There's a photo of them doing the 4.
That was for Jackie Chan's birthday.
44.
That was just them together.
He's
for
not
Jackie
44 though.
I know.
Chan.
That was promoting Movies Are the Future, episode 4, in which we talk about Rush Hour 4's potential.
But
Link
it
to
was
below.
a really weird announcement. Like there was all the rumors going around about Rush Hour 4, and then Jackie Chan's official website did this big announcement. Mr. Chan will not be starring in a proposed Rush Hour 4 or Karate Kid 2. I was
That photo gave me so much hope.
Were they both doing 4 in the photo?
Yes.
So they were actually announcing Rush Hour 8. You guys,
Rush Hour 44.
you guys got it wrong. Rush Hour 44.
And yeah, Chris Tucker's been teasing it for a while, and
They just know how to rile
This
up the
hasn't been in,
fans.
like anything.
It feels like one of those things where it's like it's like the Deadpool thing where they leak the test footage. It's like we'll put out a photo seemingly
Yeah.
confirming it, show the studio all the hype, and then try and
I
actually get
just
it
find
made.
it weird that they'd announce that that Jackie Chan's like management team are like, he's not in Rush Hour 4. It's like, what?
Bring back Jackie.
It's
Hashtag
good publicity.
bring
Yeah.
back Jackie. All right. Is that the end of?
That's the end of the big small
there you
news.
go.
Sad note to leave it on.
Speaking of
Sad note.
speaking of foreign countries,
Topic of the month.
topic.
So the topic of the month that I brought in for us to discuss this month
Mm-hmm.
is foreign movie remakes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do tell
Which
more.
to define specifically
To define.
are
Mostly Hollywood movies. Wait, no, sorry, the other way around. Foreign movies have been remade into Hollywood movies, and one of the biggest example in my mind is The Raid, which is now close to going into production, as seen
Yeah.
on a Collider interview with Joe Carnahan, and the movie starring Frank Grillo. And they got Gareth Evans Gareth Evans told them, "Oh, do your own spin on it. It's all good. We're backing you." And I think it's interesting. Grillo collaborated with Eco and Beyond Skyline, so maybe they had a bit of a talk on there. But foreign movie remakes in general, some of them work. I put something out on Movies of the Future on the Instagram. A lot of them saying that Departed is one of the best examples of a foreign movie remake.
that's very true.
Remaking the 3 Infernal Affairs movies.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, and one of the worst ones that frequently popped up was Old Boy.
With Josh Brolin and Elizabeth
Olsen. Directed by Spike Lee.
Scarlet Witch and Thanos.
Yeah,
They get naked.
there's a bit of a scene in that movie.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I just think that foreign movie remakes they can be done really well, but there's been a lot of examples where they've just been done terribly. And like we said before, 47 Ronin, what was that? That was terrible.
I didn't know that was a remake of a.
Yeah, I think that was a remake.
Probably.
Or it was based on a story that got made into a movie, and then now it's based on a Keanu Reeves starring movie. I think one of the best examples of a foreign remake done right is The Seven Samurai, and it got remade into The Magnificent Seven, because obviously with a lot of these foreign movie remakes, they take on board the sort of cultural aspect. Obviously the samurai are important to Japanese culture, and to do a Seven Samurai remake into Hollywood would be, while it'd be cool to see an interesting spin on it, but at the time westerns were really the hit, which is why they made it into The Magnificent Seven, which is what I think is one of the best cases of foreign movie remakes. And I feel like another aspect that's why foreign movie remakes are really frequent is because people aren't fans of subtitles.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this to Declan and Heath quite a bit, but I remember us watching The Raid 2 about that was a long time ago, wasn't it? That was like 5 years ago, and we weren't as into movies as we are now.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were watching The Raid 2, because The Raid 2 has quite a bit of an interesting story, sort of a complicated story that you got to pay attention to.
Like the first one was just fun, insane action, and Heath and I were like, yeah.
And the second one definitely took a bit more of a business sort of plot with it. And we were just talking about this after we filmed our Endgame spoiler talk, which you should check out.
Can we plug it anymore? Yeah.
We were talking about The Raid 2 and just how the discussion got brought up how the plot was just kind of
really confusing,
and I feel like
but Dragon has always sort of understood the plot. He keeps like repeating to us, this is what the story is about, and obviously Dragon understands it without subtitles, and that's where Heath and I sort of couldn't really get, even though we were reading subtitles, we didn't. I don't know that,
which is fine, because I feel like, well, for me, I've always been a fan of subtitles. Like,
just put them on you, even when it's in English.
Well, like Declan knows that sometimes we play a movie and I'll ask him, "Do you want subtitles on?" Because that's my preference. He'll say no, but which is fine. I can cop it without. But I feel like that for me, that's definitely because I also speak another language, which is why it might be easier for me to not get distracted by texts and all that. So I guess it's all about just sort of liking
Personal
not like,
preference.
Yeah, personal preference. So yeah, I just thought it was a really interesting case, and obviously, Hollywood producers maybe think, oh, some people, and not to take a stab at anyone who doesn't like subtitles, but maybe that's the mentality. Oh, people don't want to read subtitles to get our story, so we'll just remake it for our own audience. So yeah.
Looking to me, I think it presents an interesting argument of like, well, you know, what's the point of taking this movie that's usually like pretty decent? Like if they're remaking it, it means that it was a good movie. It's very rare that they're going to take something that was not a success wherever it was. So it's kind of like, you know, like a book, except it's weird to think about because it is already a movie.
Yeah.
You know, you're adapting something that is already in the form that it's being adapted to. And so it makes sense from like a commercial point of view because they're like, oh, well, this was a hit there.
Yeah.
We reckon it could be a hit here because obviously they've got some kind of good story or something. We'll just make it and just sort of, you know, make it more accessible for our audience. But then it's kind of reaches this question of like, we know that people are more likely to see it if it is from Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And then a lot of the times that directs people back to the original one. It gets a lot more interest in the original one. So people can say like, well, you know, you're just like bastardizing this really great movie and making it. A lot of the times they lose a lot of the nuance and stuff.
Like
and
what makes it special, sort of.
yeah, they just sort of take like a copy paste of the general story.
Yeah.
And then sort of, a lot of times they'll have to change locations and stuff. And then sometimes the whole like reason, like the whole themes sort of change and it can be tough. But if there, like there was, what was the movie that came out in January with?
The Upside.
Yeah.
Which was a remake of it
Untouchables or something?
Something like that.
A French movie, yeah.
But I felt like there was a lot of people that were like, oh, but that original movie was so good. And so many people saw the original, like the French film.
Yeah, that's another point.
And they were like, well, why would you even bother if so many people are going to do that? And it's like, well, I mean, there is a whole bunch of people that probably never knew that movie existed.
Yeah.
And then
you
The
know?
Upside was one of the biggest box office surprises in January. It made over $100 million in America alone. So
Yeah.
it's
So
pretty impressive.
I think that the things that they need to do when you're going to do something like that is try not to just make it a complete copy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like take some artistic license. If you're going to change little things already to make it fit in the English language or, you know, change location or whatever, then you can take more things. Like Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven is a great example.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's sort of the essence of Seven Samurai, but sort of their own spin on it, which is you're being faithful to it while making your own sort of play on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I like that. There's a few examples I was going through. A lot of times people don't know though that these movies are redone. Like Insomnia, which was a Christopher Nolan movie. That was actually a movie from Norway. I'm just going through like there's this list here. Obviously like there's like The Ring, which I think originally was called Ringu, which like I just think is awesome.
Carry Joji fucking.
Okay, yeah, exactly. 12 Monkeys, 3 Men and a Baby was actually, everyone says that the original version of that was actually really good. So I should watch the French version of that. But yeah, there's a lot of examples of it. But yeah, it's an interesting phenomenon.
While I'm also on the side of, you know, foreign movie remakes, if they're like already fantastic, it's like, you know, obviously I understand why they get remade. They want to serve a purpose to the other audience. It's like sometimes with The Upside, because while it made a lot of money, a lot of people didn't like it because it was a shot-for-shot remake. But I also feel like you're sort of setting yourself up to fail by taking on one of these critically acclaimed movies. And also, I feel like a lot of people go into it sort of wanting to not like it.
Yeah, that's true.
Messing with what they already liked. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. One of the ones that I actually think is really good is the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Like I've seen both of them and they're both really good, but I really like David Fincher's one.
Okay.
And I think that he changes enough that it's you know, you can still watch it, and
Yeah.
and like I think that his version is actually superior. So sometimes, you know, it goes the other way.
Yeah.
But there you go. But I guess, you know, if you're taking like a really good filmmaker who's gonna like
Yeah.
you know when someone like Scorsese is gonna do a foreign remake that's gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
not gonna do it for no reason. So when there is a real sort of like a good filmmaker attached, then it usually turns out alright.
Yeah. But then there's the other aspect of Hollywood movies getting remade, which
There's
there's
been quite a few actually. I one of them that I bumped into while reading yesterday was a Rambo remake.
There's a Rambo remake?
Yeah, so they have Rambo coming, Stallone's final Rambo coming out this year, and I saw a headline that was Stallone's final Rambo versus Indian Rambo. So yeah, India's getting its own Rambo. So
I feel like there's a lot of like Bollywood remakes.
there's one of the
Hollywood
Tom
movies.
Cruise and Cameron Diaz movie Night and Day.
Wait, no way.
Yeah,
I love that
I
movie.
think I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's called Bang Bang.
and
We should, yeah, no, we should get a list up of just like the
Yeah.
best like titles that just.
And I remember also reading this story a couple years ago that some Indian film company was remaking Red with the Bruce Willis action comedy movies. So that's interesting that they
Yeah, it's weird how like the original creators can be involved as well. Like
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of research on the movie Oculus, by
yeah.
Mike Flanagan,
Yeah.
who obviously, you know, big deal now. But I was doing like an assignment on Oculus, and I didn't realize that there was I think it was an Indian remake of Oculus.
Oh.
And Mike Flanagan was actually involved as a producer on that. Like he actually got into it, and obviously they buy the rights to this, like these
Yeah.
things. But I like when they actually take the initiative, and you know they're like, okay, this thing's gonna happen. It's gonna get made. I may as well like, you know, help make it somewhat decent. You know, have a bit of a say. So yeah, so the remake is called Dobara, See Your Evil.
What country
Translation-
is it from?
Wait, what?
What country is
It is Bollywood.
Oh, right. Okay.
And yeah, so there you go. It's an interesting phenomenon, you know. Yeah. What
foreign
else?
remakes.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Well, I guess, you know, as we did last month, we sort of opened it up for.
Oh yeah. What did
followers
people say?
to- a lot of people. Do you want to go? Okay. There's this one person. One of the first comments, Gokul_Nath_G. They replied back, why? Originally is overrated now. Oldboy was butchered by remaking. Insomnia was good though. And I think Oldboy is also an interesting story because I read that Spike Lee's original cut was like 3 hours or something. It was really long, and it also falls into studio interference.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I read somewhere that this was the first one that didn't have a Spike Lee joint in front of it.
Yeah. No, I did read that as well.
Yeah, so
he sort of disowned it.
yeah, so I feel like
I think he tried to even take his name off it or something.
I think so. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, so I think Oldboy is also an interesting case because a lot of people, especially, replied back saying it was absolutely trash, but also maybe studios didn't have enough faith in the original Oldboy story to be translated well. And who knows if Spike Lee's original vision was probably bad or probably good. So yeah, I think
Happens
that's
a lot with adaptations where they get cold feet. It's like, well, you bought this to make it, but then you didn't want to actually make it. Like
Yeah.
you just wanted a couple of the key ideas, but you didn't really want to actually make the story that you've, you know, chosen to make. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah. I got another one from Arturo Music Man. Not a fan. Train to Busan / The Raid are set to get
That's
Hollywood
right.
remakes and don't feel it's necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
James Wan is producing a Train to Busan remake. I forgot about that.
See-
Which is such a shame because it's such
have
a
you
good
seen
movie.
okay.
I love Train
How-
to Busan. It's awesome.
See, like that's one of the movies where it's like Train to Busan. You can tell it's sort of it's from Korea, right?
Hold on a second. I'm just trying to get.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything coming through the headphones. Like I'm sure it's work. Oh, it's just the headphones that are being
okay.
weird. I'm just trying to get them in a spot. So, Yeah, because like, oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Well, Train to Busan sort of feels like a movie that's made for Korea. Like if that makes sense. Like it feels like if you're gonna remake it, it doesn't really have that same flair unless you change it a lot. Which at that point it's like why remake Train to Busan?
Like something going back to the Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. Like Seven Samurai is so obviously Japanese or whatever, and they changed it to make it a Western. Whereas Train to Busan, like obviously they're all speaking Korean. I think it's Korean, yeah. But it doesn't. It's not obvious that they're in a Korean city or it's a Korean train or like, despite everything being Korean.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean, like it's not like a Hollywood remake would be.
Just gonna move that in slightly.
Like a Hollywood remake would be exactly the same, starting off in a city, being on a train. Like there's nothing new they can do. Really.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it's just like, why? Just so that you can have
an English version without subtitles.
Yeah. So I'm a bit iffy about that.
Yeah. Well, there's also another one that gets brought up too. I think. Let me try and find it actually. Damn.Danvers said America was the one that remade Head Full of Honey, which apparently I think it's from Germany. Apparently. Okay. Head Full of Honey, which apparently isn't even a good movie to start with, and the movie has the potential, like if you choose to remake sort of a bad movie and you can give it your own flair, and it turns out to be good, then great. But apparently, this American remake was even worse. Which I think is a funny case. So yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You can just see them sitting there being like, "Oh, this movie is a big success.
Yeah.
Let's just make a remake. It'll be great here." But a lot of these movies have, like I'm sure Train to Busan and The Raid were like probably even more popular in the US than they were in their actual home countries, just given the amount of more people there are in the US.
Exactly,
You know what I mean? So it's just going to keep happening, and we just got to hope that as foreign movies and other countries start to sort of, their film industry start to get a whole lot bigger, like we've seen with China, and that's kind of the thing that I'm really interested in, is like once, like if China surpasses the US as the biggest box, like the biggest film country, then what happens to terms like foreign movies? What happens to the Academy Awards and box office reports and stuff, where everything is based around Hollywood and Australia? I mean, Hollywood. I don't know why I said Australia. Everything's based around Hollywood. I'd love if Australia was as big. And unfortunately not. But everything's based around Hollywood. And so once it starts having like, China is like the big industry, then it's like, what does the term foreign movie even mean anymore?
Yeah.
Does China become domestic? It's like it gets a bit.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost damaging the use of the divide between like American like Hollywood movies and foreign movies, where it's like one's not legitimate. It's like to be legitimate you need to be remade by Hollywood.
You need to be in English.
Exactly. So I hope that as these industries get bigger and things start to change, and obviously it's all sort of changing with streaming and stuff. I feel like especially on Netflix, people are more inclined to jump into something that's not in English. Like Roma. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm interested to see how it all sort of pans out.
Thank you for that great segue with Netflix.
Yes. Speaking of.
So we'll move on to you need to see this segment, graphics.
With I think it's the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People is in this graphic.
Ricky Baker.
Julian Dennison.
So Spectral is a Netflix movie that was released in 2016. It stars James Badge Dale, Emily Mortimer, Max Martini, and Bruce Greenwood. It centers on a special ops team led by a researcher dispatched to fight a unknown, seemingly supernatural enemy who've taken over a war-torn European city. It's definitely not like previous movies we've had on this segment, like Southpaw. It's just a movie that I was scrolling through Netflix one day. I sat down and watched it, and I was like, This was like a time when I really thought Netflix movies were just garbage.
Yeah,
This was
yeah.
before Okja for me, so
True,
just-
true.
Okay.
this was like when Adam Sandler movies were the biggest ones on Netflix, and I was like, it's just all garbage. And I just sat down. I was like, this is just awesome. Like it's not really like a great movie, but it's just so much fun, and it's just awesome. It's like Black Hawk Down meets Ghostbusters, or
I was thinking the whole time it's Ghostbusters for the Call of Duty generation.
yeah.
That's just that's what it was sold as.
It had a budget of $70 million. It's
Which is a lot for
It's-
this movie.
its music score was done by Junkie XL, who did Mad Max Fury Road,
Oh,
Batman
no way.
vs
I didn't know
Superman.
that.
So it was obviously meant to be a big budget action movie, and that's what it was originally pitched as in the summer of 2014, when Legendary Pictures and Universal Pictures announced that they were giving commercials director Nick Matthew. I'm great with pronouncing names.
Something.
So it was going to be
You're gonna have a great time when foreign movies become really big, and it's just gonna be like
Shang-Chi.
There you go.
So they were giving it to this new sort of director, this $70 million
Mm.
big budget action movie that they were obviously wanting to be some big summer
Yeah.
blockbuster, because they slated it for release August 2016, and obviously the producers watched it and went,
Nah.
like, it's cool, but it's not really the $70 million movie we
Yeah,
were thinking it was
hasn't really got
gonna
a
be.
big star.
Yeah, and it's big, but it's not, kind of. So then they pulled it from this schedule, and Netflix acquired the distribution rights and released it in December of 2016. Yeah, so it sort of was one of the first movies for a major studio to dump on Netflix. And I would have loved to see it in the cinemas. I think there's some really cool action scenes in it, and the special effects are amazing, in my opinion. Yeah. What do you guys think? Because you guys have just seen it.
Guess we're going to me first. I'm glad that you prefaced this by saying that it's not a great movie, because unfortunately, as much as I tried to like it, I just didn't like this movie.
Okay.
And
I had a feeling this would happen.
and it's not a bad movie necessarily. It's just that it strikes me as a really classic high concept like script that sounds really great in a log line. You know what I
Generic
mean? You're
Hollywood,
like, yeah, like it sounds like a really easy movie to sell, but when you expand it out to like 100-minute film, to me, maybe I just wasn't in the right mood for like the kind of like. I don't want to say throwaway, but it's very I've seen this before.
Oh
Yeah.
You know, and I like that they really went all out on the production design.
Yeah.
And
Well, I was just quickly to interrupt. I was reading something interesting that during the production, like all the futuristic weapon designs and that were made by Peter Jackson's Weta Workshop and all that. So
yeah,
Universal obviously intended for it to be some
big thing, yeah.
big some blockbuster, but
you can tell. I mean, it looks really good. And the design of the hyperspectral beings or
Yeah.
whatever they're called are really good, and I really like that. And there's a decent supporting cast. I love Bruce Greenwood. Gerald's Game obviously is probably my favorite movie of his, but he's great. And yeah, the weapons and stuff like that. But I just didn't connect to any of the story or the characters really. James Badge Dale, like, I don't think I've ever seen him in a lead role before. And I was like, he's good. He does like an alright. He makes sense, but it just was like I knew exactly how it was going to go.
Yeah.
yeah.
There wasn't really a twist with the beings that you couldn't like. You know, it's you've seen it all before, and it tries to do the aliens, like you get connected to the soldiers and stuff like that. But I just didn't really care about any of them, unfortunately. So yeah, I was kind of just there like, there's some cool ideas, but it just seemed like it after the first 15 minutes, or once they sort of, well, I don't really want to spoil it, but after that sort of that first like encounter, like where they all go out and stuff,
Yeah.
I was kind of just lost a bit of steam, and it just
Okay.
became a collection of montage sequences of them getting the crew and the gear together, and it ticked every box of screenwriting 101 of bring in the kid, bring in the mystical illusions. It's like Scooby-Doo almost in that part, but you know what I mean?
I definitely agree with most of your points. I suppose for me, what made it so special in a way was just I didn't know a thing about it. I just saw the poster. Netflix made garbage movies to me at that point, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" And I had no idea it was meant to be a theatrical release. So I was like, "Wow, this is kind of awesome." But I want to know what you think.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember always like coming over to your place and then seeing that Spectral poster. I'm like, geez, that looks pretty cool. It looks
You had
like
a poster
Halo.
No,
for Spectrum?
on
On the
Netflix.
Netflix thing.
Oh,
I was
I
like,
don't love it that
yeah.
much.
I was like, wow,
I was
well
like,
done.
this looks like Halo. Like it looks kind of cool, and that's the vibe that I got after I finished the movie. It was cool. It was interesting. It reminded me a lot of one of last year's movies, Kin. It was a very small movie. It gave me that sort of vibe. I really like Spectral, but it never really striked me as a theatrical release. I don't know. It felt like it was always.
Yeah, it seemed like it was always meant to be.
for
That's
the
why I was
streaming
surprised.
See, like
Yeah.
whereas movies like Annihilation on Netflix, or even I don't know if I'm gonna get flack for saying this. Even Isn't It Romantic sort of had that sort of vibe to it, like the cinema vibe. I'd love to see this in the cinema, but it never gave me that vibe. The special effects were fantastic. I really like those. And the movie had a consistently serious tone, but there were a lot of cheesy moments in it that kind of laughed at, like the Bruce Greenwood's like military big speech. The montage.
That's right.
God.
Yeah.
Again, it's just
Yeah.
ticking the action
Yeah.
movie sci-fi.
Yeah.
It's the
The-
sci-fi action movie boxes.
The gear up montage is like, oh, let's build these weapons, done, and this epic music.
I
Which
can
was-
reverse the polarity and turn it from a
Yeah.
camera to a searchlight. And you're like, at that point, I was like, I feel like they're just playing around. They're like, we know that reverse the polarity doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like, so we're just gonna throw it.
Well, yeah. I mean, as those cheesy moments, I was laughing, but this movie still got me. Like, I was like, you know what, that was a good use of 100 minutes. Like that it could have been worse.
It has a really interesting comment about euthanasia in it as well, which like I didn't expect coming from this movie, but like there's some
Yeah.
you stick through the ending, it's like it goes to some weird places.
Yeah. So yeah, all around it definitely gave me the vibe of a smaller movie. Really cool and interesting. Just a fun time sort of. So,
Yeah, that's
To me, it's just a flip of a coin of like,
Hit or miss.
are you in the right mood and are you the right kind of person? Like it's a proficiently made movie.
Yeah.
Like it's well made. It's just whether you enjoy it is really just the sort of what you like in a movie and
like
your
I'm
appetite.
deep down. I'm definitely just a sucker for action movies.
Yeah.
And this, and as you said, it ticked every cliche box, and it did it well, kind of.
Yeah.
So, but for some people, it doesn't work. And
Well, I mean,
yeah.
for some people, Death Note is terrible. For people like
It
me,
is.
Death Note is awesome. So
Everyone has that movie that they're like, I love Spectral, I love Death Note.
yeah,
So-
it's
Spider-Man.
There's no right and wrong answer, as we talked
Yeah.
about in the last episode about objectivity versus subjectivity, linked below. Just had to get one last plug in there.
We should get a plug counter in.
Every time there's a plug, like we've got to just
Just a
like
tally mark, like
rip the head off a pop vinyl and see how many are left. All right, yeah.
I think that's it. So yeah, just if you're just looking for a big dumb action movie on Netflix,
And you
Spectral
want to
is
see James Badgedale with hair?
He was cool in 13
Oh, yeah,
Hours.
that was another thing. Yeah, James Badgedale. After watching 13 Hours, which you also recommended to me, because he was a military guy in that one, and I was expecting, because after seeing the poster for Spectral, I expected him to be in that big sort of mech suit, but he was just a scientist, technician sort of person. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
DARPA.
Yeah, DARPA.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of episode 5 of Movies Are the Future. Thank you very much for watching. We obviously, if you've stuck through now, you know that we just threw as many plugs as possible as we could at you this episode, just to see if you could bear with it. But thank you for making it to the end. We really appreciate it. Obviously, you can check out the podcast on audio. If you, for instance, you're like, oh, I'll listen to it one day, but like, I'm not really sure when. Just download it. You could listen to it, and if you're bored in your car, you get stuck in traffic, you never know. You're at the gym, your phone goes, your data's out, you got it there ready to go. It's video viewers, subscribe to the Slop Shack. We've had a lot of cool content come out recently. Head to our film festival, Light Up, which will be being held at Reading Cinemas at Newmarket, as we can officially announce. Please come along. You can get tickets for $11 online. If you wear glow sticks to the event, you get cheaper drinks and food. We've got a whole bunch of cool submissions recently that we're going through at the moment. Keep sending them in. We're really enjoying them. We've got some great films to play for you on the night, so it's very exciting. And obviously, please head over to movies_of_the_future, and you could be their 50,001st follower. Or 50,100th follower, or whatever. You'll be somewhere in there. You guys should start sending messages, just DMs to every new follower and say, you are this number follower.
Congratulations, you are the 50,900.
Yeah, and then like tack on a movie at the bottom, like, have you seen Spectral? Check it out. Or have you seen Mowgli? Or have you seen Little? Or I don't know. Anything. Actually, just send them a thing and just link them to the podcast. That'd be great.
Give this a watch. Support your...
And then it's immediately unfollowed. You're like, oh, fuck. But if you did like this, head over to theslopshack.com, where there's far more information. You can find out everything there. And finally, I don't know about you guys,
But I'm thirsty as fuck.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.